Here's my presentation about regional leader of marketing, which is the profession I pursued for Fast Track. And I'm going to start off my presentation with a hook talking about the US Open because I think this is a very large marketing event for people who live in Huntington Beach. So a lot of people will be familiar about what I am referencing to. Next slide, I'm going to be talking about my mentor, which is not that slide. Next slide, I'm going to be talking about my mentor, her name is Micah Brandt, and I'm going to be talking about her job and also how I got my internship, which was through my mom because they were teammates in high school for water polo at Long Beach Wilson. Next, I'm going to be talking about my experience, and here are some photos of my experience working at the Surf City Marathon Expo. And I'm going to be talking about the whole thing from the setup of the booth, how I learned to communicate with customers that were coming by, and also I had the opportunity to walk around and see all the other brands' booths. So I'm going to talk about some of those and the takeaways that I got from different types of marketing, and also just talking about like in-person marketing, which is what I was doing. Next, I'm going to be talking about education needed, which is basically a bachelor degree. And I'm just going to go in depth more about how you can get different types of marketing experiences through internships and stuff like that. And also skills such as Microsoft, proficient in that kind of stuff, and how you need to be confident and persuasive. Then I'm going to be talking about some of my personal takeaways, and some of these are how to communicate with a marketing team, and I'm going to kind of give examples of what I experienced when I was watching everyone communicate at the start of the event, and also how to drive traffic directly, which I also will get into more during my process speech, and the importance of a booth. And those were my personal takeaways that I thought were most important when I was learning. Next, this is my process speech, which is how to create a booth for a marketing event. And right here I have 4 different photos of different booths at different styles of marketing events. And I'm just going to kind of go into depth talking about all these, like, for example, Rivian, big vehicle company, electric cars, like very much income and very large scale events for top dollar buyers. And then we go to Mojo Desserts, which is a small dessert brand, or American Tent, which is tent rentals, and mine, which was Raising Cane's. And these are all different types of companies and how they can use different ways of marketing and marketing booths. Next, the importance of a booth. Just going to be going over why they're important and how it's going to bring traffic towards a company and stuff like that. Then I'm going to be talking about planning ahead and basically what you have to do to coordinate and creating a timeline. And then here's a visual of a timeline, which I also might make like my own personal timeline. That could be like a mock example. Next is the cost, and I was researching for a generic 10 by 10 booth, and I'm also working with my mentor to get the exact costs of the booth that I worked at my place, so I get more of a accurate data that is straight from the actual event, and it's not just like possible costs that could happen. And then I'm also going to explain how the event, if the event yields a return on its investment, and yes or no, and like what to go from if the answer is yes or no. Next, I'm going to be talking about the booth setup. Basically, just how first impressions matter and logos need to be all spread around it, and they need to maximize booth space and use large containers. And I'm just going to kind of talk through why this is important and all of that. Next, I'm going to be talking about 3 different types of booth interactions, and here are some of them listed, and then I also did singular examples of each one. For example, this is a video, and on these Bose brand, they have a video talking about their new sunglasses showed on this truck. Then the next example is activities, and this is like a ping pong game, and talk about like how you can win merchandise and stuff like that through activities. And then this is social media integration, pretty much using QR code to redeem merch or posting with hashtags and stuff like that. Then another use of simulation I'm going to be talking about is a prize wheel, which I used at my event. And I'm just going to talk about the pros of the prize wheel and talk about how you need some swag to learn with the target market. And then here I have just another photo of the prize wheel, and it kind of just gives examples of what everything is. And then there's a photo of all the merchandise, and there's also the free lemonade and free kids combo, which is an example of driving traffic direct from the store. And in my in-person presentation, I am planning on bringing the actual Cane's prize wheel and some of the merchandise. I'm getting all that worked out with my mentor, so she says that it's very much possible that I can bring it in. And I'm just going to have the judges basically spin it, and they can win some free merchandise. So that's going to be my interactive part and show how much like fun it brings to everyone. Then I was just going to say that I would pursue this career and talk about why. And I think Cybax, I'm going to talk about how Cybax is going to lead me into this kind of career very nicely. And I think it was very fun and a good job for the real world. And that's my whole presentation.